So from a preparedness mindset, you're probably storing food and matches and firewood and Band-Aids and everything else. One thing that we couldn't store until recently, legally, was antibiotics. There is now a service where you can get antibiotics for humans, not fish or other animals, legally in your possession to store just in case. So first, let me introduce my partner here, my wife, Jessica. So she has agreed to be a part of this YouTube thing. You'll probably see much more of her as time goes on, as she is the mastermind behind our gardening operation and everything growing. Plant identification, she knows all of our natural plants. Where we're from, I do not. But she is also a nurse of over 10 years. So she is a good preparedness partner to have.
I'm not a master gardener. I just like learning about that sort of thing. I've been an LPN for 13 years. I only work very, very casually now since we've had kids. But when I heard about these Jase Medical emergency preparedness antibiotic kits, I was intrigued because I didn't know anything like this was around. So I did a little bit of reading about it, and I actually think it's a really good thing to have. This was something that had always been in the back of my mind in terms of prepping. So I'm really glad that we have these kits now, and I think they're a great thing for anybody to have. I think it's very important, and I just want to say that these are for emergency use only. So you need to go see your doctor if you're having any issues. This is like a last resource.
If doctors aren't available.
Yeah.
And then secondly, if there is no medical attention available, you try phoning Jase as well before you take anything as a extra step. But if none of that is available and you still are in need of antibiotics, they also give you a very nice plain kit for somebody who's not a medical professional like myself. And it's essentially breaks it down. You get your 5 antibiotics. We got a kit for each of us, so we got a double kit essentially because we think this is very important. But in their little book, it breaks it down what you have. I won't even try to pronounce them, but bite wounds, pneumonia, sinus infection,
urinary tract infections,
UTI, plague, anthrax exposure.
Hopefully we don't ever need to use it for that.
No kidding. But this little kit breaks it down and then gives you the dosage, symptoms. Did you talk about if you need antibiotics, and antibiotics is kind of one of those things, when you need them, you need them. You don't take it for a mild cough. But when you are for sure in need of antibiotics, you take the entire dose as recommended. You don't stop halfway. You don't take more.
Yeah, we all know that person who gets a little tickle in their throat and right away they're taking somebody's antibiotics that have been in the cupboard for how long from somebody who never finished a full course. So, yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. Antibiotic resistance is a thing. You want to use it sparingly, use it as recommended, because you do not want to get resistant to antibiotics. So in the future, if you really need them and you're now resistant, they're not going to work for you as well, right? And preparedness people, like all the old preparedness books that I've read over the past decade and a half, it's you couldn't get antibiotics for humans, so they talk about getting fish antibiotics or animal antibiotics that may or may not be the same thing and may or may not be the same quality. So there was preparedness-minded people stocking up on those, but with this service, you can get right from your pharmacy 100% legal like human consumable antibiotics.
Yeah, so the way this works is they're prescribed by a board-certified physician, and then they're dispensed by various pharmacies across either Canada or the US, depending on what country you live in. So your bottles that you get might not look like this, just because it could be a different pharmacy. And also Jase Medical provides a case for these as well, but
Well, yeah, the
supply chain issues with that.
well, they have just supply chain issues across the board for everything. Like Jase doesn't even have their little case to put it in right now, so they said that they'll send it later. So you know, supply chain issues. You can't get the case even for the antibiotic. So I'm telling you, if you're concerned about what's coming or the current situation, you know, I would suggest storing things that you think you might need in the near future, and you can work your way out. But for antibiotics and pharmaceuticals, don't quote me on these percentages, but I was doing some reading on it. In Canada, in the US, 90% of our pharmaceuticals, including antibiotics, come from China. The US and Canada is incapable, doesn't have the infrastructure, or nobody's producing pharmaceuticals and antibiotics. So China is a long ways away. China is essentially the world's factory, and if there is disruptions from the other side of the world all the way up to us, especially in Canada, like low population spread out over a large area, get what you think you might need. So you can have, you know, piles and piles of food put away, but if you get a little cut, or like me, the last time I took antibiotics was probably 10 or 11 years ago. I had a ingrown hair on my hip where my construction tool belt was like 12 hours a day or whatever, and the red infection dot went like this to like this, and holy cow, I need antibiotics. So my demise could have been an ingrown hair on my right hip, and that would have been the end of me. If anybody writes a book about me, killed by ingrown hair without antibiotics.
I want to say too, the nice thing about these kits and Jase Medical, I think this is wonderful. If you have questions about these after you get them, there is a physician you can contact through Jase Medical with your questions. So that's really good.
Yeah, exactly. So for storing antibiotics, I store antibiotics as just another dry good like everything else I store. But these plastic ammo cans, I bought a whole whack of them when they went on sale. They were $4 or $5 Canadian. They have a good rubber seal on them. So in here is my kit, and I'm going to put Jess's in there and put it in storage. I label it properly. It has a very good rubber seal on it, and then a desiccant pack. I'll show you how to make those in a minute, but a good sized desiccant pack with your dry goods, sealed up. Doesn't matter what you're storing, if it's dried food, if it's matches, if it's ammunition, if it's supplements. It is cool, dry, dark, stable environment, and this is the best way to do it. So now put this ammo can in a cool, dry, dark, stable place.
Yeah, don't store these in your bathroom.
Yeah, bathroom is humidity. Don't store it in a greenhouse either. Pick a spot. And then for other supplements, like here's vitamin D liquid gels. I don't recommend that because it's a liquid gel. I would recommend
Dry tablets.
the dry tablets. So in here's my little vitamin D kit, which is super important for where I live. So vitamin D. We also do store garden seeds the same way. Cool, dry, dark, stable environment with the same desiccant pack.
These make the best cases for seeds.
Yeah. So, and even in here we have some seeds in Mylar as well as a double thing. But apparently you can freeze dry garden seeds, and it removes any last bit of moisture, and you can put them in Mylar and they'll last forever, apparently. So we're doing a little bit of experimenting with that, but then matches and then smoothies as well, like your freeze-dried food, your store the same way as all this, and antibiotics. But let me show you how to make a desiccant pack. So don't laugh with my kitty litter from Walmart. I paid $20 for this maybe 8 years ago. This is non-scented silica kitty litter. It's the same thing as any desiccant pack. This tub has lasted me, well, a long time, and I still have lots in here. So in your little desiccant kit, get yourself standard coffee filters, standard Scotch tape, put a little bit in the coffee filter, tape it up, and that's a desiccant pack, so don't waste your money buying expensive desiccants. So that will pull any, like when you store dried goods, make sure they're as dry as possible, and then put the desiccant, and the desiccant will pull any little excess moisture out of there. That's for super long storage. So antibiotics themselves have a decent shelf life. I would recommend, if there's doctor or services to get fresh ones, to not take expired antibiotics unless it's complete collapse scenario, they're not available anymore. But properly storing antibiotics should, or properly storing anything, will extend the shelf life of them, as opposed to just this pill bottle in your humid bathroom medicine cabinet. No. Do it properly like this and it will last longer. So certain antibiotics, I was just doing my little bit of reading, they will go a little bit toxic after their expiry date. So do your own research with that. But many antibiotics are good for many, many years, especially properly stored. They might lose a little bit of their potency or their ability to do their thing. But let's hypothetically say the supply chains are cut. You can't get antibiotics from China, where they all come from, or there is no doctors, or it's catastrophic scenario, and you have a cut and it's infected, or a urinary tract infection and it's infected, and you need antibiotics, and you have properly stored but expired antibiotics, I would be taking those antibiotics personally. So you can make that decision yourself, but I'm guessing you're going to wish that you had some on hand. So we got 2 kits from Jase, and they give us just a referral link. If you want to check it out for yourself, I'll put that in the description of this video. Highly recommended. It's not super expensive, but it's not cheap, but it's a possible life-changing thing. We felt so important, we got 2 sets. So while the supply chain is still half-assed intact, and it seems nobody's too worried about things, this is when the time to accumulate things that you probably need. So food, water, shelter, security, make sure those standard things. But I put a high importance on my medical kit, supplements, over-the-counter medication, and now antibiotics. So check out Jase, link in the description, and get yourself some while they're still available.
So working in the hospital, and anybody who works in healthcare has probably seen shortages on certain drugs. So it is a very real thing that can happen. So I think it's a good idea to stock up on this. I think it's important.
It's just a little bit of insurance. So hope that you'll never need to take them, and you'll take them to a pharmacy for them to dispose of them properly in the future or something. So thanks for watching. Dean, Jessica at Arcopia here, and stay tuned for more stuff coming from us. So